President Biden has described the Senate's approval of his coronavirus relief bill as one more giant step forward in helping Americans to deal with the impact of the pandemic. The package, which is worth nearly $2 trillion, will provide one-off payments to millions of people. Republican senators were united in opposing the bill. Our Washington correspondent, Lebudi Seko, reports.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 49. The bill as amended is passed.
A vote on party lines gave Joe Biden the victory he needed in the Senate after a marathon session lasting more than 24 hours. This is his first major piece of legislation as president, a package he says is necessary to turn the toll of the pandemic around.
This plan puts us on a path to beating the virus. This plan gives those families who are struggling the most the help and the breathing room they need to get through this moment. This plan gives small businesses in this country a fighting chance to survive. And one more thing, this plan is historic.
The bill will help fund payments for the unemployed. Last month's job gains are still too slow, says the president, with the country still down 9.5 million since this time last year. Money, too, to speed up production and distribution of vaccines, the hope being that that will help significantly increase the 10% of Americans who've been fully immunised. But Republicans say the cost is too high and they were united in their opposition, with not one voting in favour of the bill.
Voters picked a president who promised unity and bipartisanship. Democrats' response is to ram through what they call, quote, the most progressive domestic legislation in a generation on a razor-thin majority in both houses.
There was criticism, too, from within the Democrats' own ranks, which almost derailed the bill. All of this an indication of how difficult it will be for President Biden to fulfill his agenda. The bill has been substantially changed since it passed in the House of Representatives, so it will go back there for a vote on Tuesday. Democrats are racing to get it signed by the president by March the 14th, when key unemployment benefits expire. Lebudi Seko, BBC News, Washington.
I'm joined now by Amanda Fischer, who's the Policy Director at the Washington Center for Equitable Growth. She's worked for more than a decade on Capitol Hill in roles related to economic policy making. Amanda Fischer, thanks so much for joining us. It's called the Rescue Plan. Will it rescue America?
You know, I think that this bill is a really significant and large down payment on addressing the worst of the economic suffering that's happening here in the United States. I think it's really significant that since I worked in Congress 10 years ago, policymakers really seem to have learned their lesson that the risk is doing too little, not too much. And this bill really makes investments in the programs that are going to help the people that are suffering the most right now, which are low-income workers in the United States, people who are on the front lines, disproportionately people of color and women. And this bill makes investments that they need. So it broadens unemployment insurance to help the jobless. It makes investments in childcare so that workers can stay in the workforce. It provides rental assistance and direct payment checks to families. And it also invests in state and local aid, which is critically needed right now, as our state and local governments can't run budget deficits like the federal government can.
Let's imagine a case study. A family, they've got no savings, parents have lost jobs, kids are of school age. How would this bill affect their lives?
So the unemployment insurance is incredibly significant. Here in the United States, we have an unemployment insurance system where benefits expire very quickly. And there's really not a helping hand out there if you can't find a job very quickly. So this not only boosts the amount of unemployment insurance, but it extends the duration of that. It provides more funding for childcare services so that women who may have dropped out of the workforce, parents that may have dropped out of the workforce for caregiving responsibilities might have access to more affordable childcare. It provides $1,400 direct payments to individuals, in the middle class here in the United States, and it helps prevent an eviction crisis by providing billions of dollars in rental relief.
Let's say the vaccination program works and people are allowed to move freely again at some point. How long after that would it take for the country to fully recover?
So I think that this bill is a really good start to get us through this period of vaccination and containing the virus and get us to the other side. I heard a statistic today saying that without this bill, it would have taken 2 years for employment to reach the levels it was at before the pandemic. So I think that this really mitigates against that very protracted damage. But we're going to have to do more when we get to the other side of the pandemic to address, 40 years of entrenched wealth and income inequality here in the United States that made us so fragile going into the pandemic to begin with.
Amanda Fischer, thank you so much.